Can't hear you.
Did you get my WhatsApp? Zevi Ball.
Did I get you WhatsApp?
Aaron.
I didn't get any WhatsApp.
Okay.
Where's everybody tonight?
What do we
Partying?
chop
I don't
liver?
know.
What do we chop liver?
Yeah, no, you're not chopped liver. I'm just wondering, we usually wait for a minion.
It's the summer. I guess people are busy. I don't know.
I guess so.
And not us.
Well, there's a couple more.
Zev, who's that coming from?
Aaron Kaplan.
You serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Give him a call if there's shit.
What happened?
Nothing.
Yeah. I don't know. We can't hear him. All right. We'll be up to. Okay, turn up on it. Yeah. Am I being heard clear or I'm not?
Yeah,
You are being seen clearly.
Now
and
you're
heard
clear.
clearly.
Now clear?
Yes.
Okay, ready? Turn up on it. Yeah, Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph.
Yep.
Go on, yeah, okay, good, perfect. Wach.
Yeah, turn up on it. Good tvach. Yeah. Turn up on it. Yeah, Sukkah Gazula. So Sukkah that's stolen from Mesachich b'Reshus HaRabim, and if you Mesachich in Reshus HaRabim, right, which is again, that's like they do in Borough Park and Williamsburg, whatever it is, they build a sukkah in a Reshus HaRabim on the street. So I'm assuming there they have permission, right? But it's talking about if you didn't have permission. Yes, Rabbi Eliezer passul v'cham mashir. It says Machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Chacham. Amar Rav Nachman Machlokes b'shataykev es chaver Daf Yomi Sukkah. All Machlokes is where you overpower your friend and you take him out of the sukkah. Rabbi Eliezer l'tamei the Amar ein adam yotzi dechavas b'sukkah shechaver. And Rabbi Eliezer, as we know, holds that a person's not yotzi.
Is it just me or do we lose him?
Just you.
Just you.
All right. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So ain't other yotze dechavas b'sukkah shechaver. So Rabbi Eliezer holds that you're not yotze. You're chayiv with a sukkah of chavera. Because if you hold that karka is stolen, you can steal karkas, and then it's a stolen sukkah. Binami karka in an exelis, and if you say that karka can't be stolen, yeah, sukkah shuli, then it's borrowed, and Rebbe Eliezer holds you're not yotze. Rabbanon l'tamayu, and the Rabbanon hold tamri adam yotze de chavasei b'sukkah shechaveroi. They hold that a person is yotze in a sukkah with his friend, which is where we paskin. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have guests on sukkahs. The karka ain't an exelis, and karka can't be stolen. The sukkah shuli, and it's a borrowed sukkah. Meaning, if karka is an exelis, then they would hold it's a stolen sukkah. Right? So they have to hold karkas ain't an exelis.
The sukkah is mukabel karka, so it's karka.
Well, with the ground of it, yeah.
I don't need ground for a sukkah. What do I need ground for?
No, we're talking about with the second case of a Mesachim Reshus HaRabim. Right? It's the ground that you stole. The sukkah could have been your own. Right? Sukkah could have been your own. Right? Sukkah Gazula, Stam, where you stole the schach and we don't know the walls of schach. What's the deal with the walls of the sukkah? Do we care if it's gazel or not?
Okay.
And
we could say, I don't understand. We could say it's an exula, so Chicago an exula, right? Take the city street and build yourself a swimming pool in the city street, and then put you in jail for 10 years, and you're going to scream, Sukkah, Chicago and exula, good. Meanwhile, you were in prison. You were an assassinating for 10 years. No. What the
Right.
plus Hakster cup?
Yeah, but the question is halachically, is it considered gazula, right?
Okay.
I thought you were going to ask a different kasha. Why is it not mitzvah ba'avera? Right? Yesterday, was it yesterday's
If it's
daf?
any
Whatever.
Zula, then it's not mitzvah b'avera.
What if it's not? If you hold karkas ain't an exelis, right? But the first case, right? Yeah, but the first case, right? So the way the Rabbanon are learning it, that's really a sukkah shula. It's not really exola. So what would you do wrong? Other than, I guess, other than you're not getting the tzaddik of the year award by kicking this guy out of his own sukkah, right? But other than that, you didn't really. It's not really stolen. It's a forced borrowing, as we would call it, right? Okay, but that's what he's saying. That's the first because Avoda Zara eitzim. But if you steal wood, the secret when you use it as schach, divrei hakol ein le'elo d'mei eitzim. Everybody holds that you get to keep the sukkah, and you have to just pay back the amount that the wood is worth. Right? Yeah, this is an easy way. Your friend goes to Home Depot, gets schach, whatever it is, and then you go rip it off and put it into your sukkah, and that's it. And he can't tine on you. He could tine on you to pay him for the wood. You pay him for the wood, but that's it.
It's mamash a Jackie Mason joke of Shiyak of this case.
What is that?
He said he had a friend who's half Jewish, half Italian. If he can't buy it wholesale, he steals it. It's mamish the case.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So exactly. And then you only have to pay back the worth of the wood. You don't have to pay back the sukkah. Right. Anyway, so there's a lot here with whether it's considered mitzvah avera, etc., etc. Anyways. So, but gazel eitzim again, the secret when you said divrei hakol ein lo yelo t'mei eitzim, everybody holds you only have to pay back t'mei eitzim. How do you know that this is the case? Right? Meaning that the case is not, it's not talking about where you just stole the wood, because the wood, again, we're saying there you'd only have to pay back what the worth of the wood. That it's similar to Rishus Harabim. Ma Rishus Harabim karka lavdi dehu, just like Rishus Harabim. The karka is not his. Sukkah nami lav karka didehu. So the sukkah also is not. We're talking about it's not his sukkah. It's talking about where he threw the guy out of the sukkah, and that's where the Machlokes is. Yeah, okay. So that's how we know that. Then when the Gemara says an interesting case, he safta dasoy lekamed Rav Nachman. There was an old woman who came in front of Rav Nachman. Amrulay, she said to him, reish. Amrulay, she said to him, reish galusa, v'kula rabbanim devei reish galusa, b'sukkah gzula avayasvi. The reish galusa and all the rabbanim are sitting in a stolen sukkah, which Rashi says, who stole the sukkah? The reish galusa stole the sukkah, or the talmidim stole the sukkah. So Rashi says it was the avodim of the reish galusa. Right? So they stole the sukkah, which is very interesting that, and they didn't pay it back. So tzavcha v'lo yashkach ba Rav Nachman. So she was yelling, and Rav Nachman didn't even listen. She said to him, "It's a woman, a woman who has 318 servants, whose father had 318 servants, whose cry is yelling out in front of you," which Rashi says 318 servants means that she's a daughter of Avram Avinu, right? And you're not even listening to her. That's what the lady screamed. So Amalu Rav Nachman said to the what do you call it? He said to the Talmidim, this is just a woman who's a yeller. All she gets is the me'etzim. Right? Again, like we said, because she only, when you steal wood for a sukkah, you don't have to give back the sukkah. The sukkah is considered yours. You just have to pay it back. You just pay back the wood. So that's all she was entitled to. So obviously, the interesting thing here is if the reish galusa's people stole the sukkah, so then don't you think they would give it back? Okay, whatever the pshatim are with that. But he was saying that you only have to pay back the me'etzim. See, he wasn't like the Satmar Rebbe, right? Is that right, Rabban? I thought you were going to say that
I have it
story.
written in my Gemara, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, very good. The story is referring to that somebody came to the Samar Rebbe, and the Samar Rebbe was asking who he's from, and then he said, Rebbe, what's the difference? We're all kids of Avraham Avinu. So the Samar Rebbe answered back, yeah, I know that, but from which wife, right? So
Yeah.
I guess he was a little sharper than this Gemara. But anyway, so let's see. So what's a pshat in this? So the Gemara says, Amar Avina, Hai kshura de metalalta, this beam of the sukkah, the gzula that was stolen, Avdile Rabbanon takanta mishum takanas morish. Rabbanon made a takana because of takanas morish, yeah, which is a takana. Literally means a beam, meaning if somebody's going to steal wood and build it into his house, and you tell him that he has to return the whole house, then he's never going to admit, and the guy that got stolen from is going to have nothing. So they made a takana that said if somebody steals something and builds it into his house, he just has to pay back the amount of the wood, and that's it. Like this, maybe people will admit. So the same thing with the sukkah. Same thing with the sukkah. If you're gonna make him return all the schach, he's gonna have no sukkah. So we just make him pay the amount that the schach is worth.
So the guy kicks the person out of his sukkah. So that's the case where he stole the wood. What's the case? He kicked the person out of his own sukkah?
Two different cases.
We're doing two different cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Two different cases.
So when you kick the guy out of his own sukkah, you don't have to give him anything.
You're not yotze the mitzvah.
No, it's a machlokes.
I'm saying so.
Machlokes. That's a machlokes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a machlokes Rabbanon and Rebbe Elazar. Right? Yeah. So, but then if you steal the wood, it's better. You're better off just stealing the wood. Fine. Okay. So let's see weiter. So it says pshita mashna me'etzim. Why should it be any different than wood? Right? Why should you think a sukkah, the din of putting wood into the sukkah, is any different than regular wood that you put into a house? Just like when somebody steals wood and puts it into his house, he only has to pay the worth. So this too. So pshita mashna me'etzim out the same me'etzim shchichi. Right, so you might think that eitzim is common, right? So since eitzim is common, yeah, so then a person could get whatever wood he needs. So just give him the money, he'll go to Home Depot and he'll buy himself more wood. But a beam for the sukkah, maybe not so common. So you'd say, okay, you got to give it back. You got to give it back to the guy. So you would say that you can't just return the money, you have to give it back the actual beam, kamash malan. So it teaches us that no, in both cases, even if it's going to be difficult for the guy that it got stolen from to take it, he's still going to have to. He still only gives back the money, and that's it.
So Yaakov, if somebody
like, what? Is it important now?
I just don't know what it's
Okay, go ahead. Just get it. Good.
I would do it. My wife wasn't.
She should make.
I should.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
hey,
yeah.
Could you wait to someone?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Good talk. Yeah, what are you saying?
somebody built the sukkah 2 weeks before Yom Tov, right? He had to, and he can't build it himself, so he had to pay to somebody to build it. Cost him $200, right? So you come and kick him out of his sukkah. So you pay him for the wood. Now Erev Yom Tov, he has to find somebody. It cost him $500 to put up the sukkah.
That's his problem. It's as strange as it sounds. It's his problem. Yeah. You only have to pay back the worth of the wood, right? Yeah, that's it doesn't make sense. But that's to us, it doesn't make sense. So we don't. That's why. What?
How did they build Sukkos back then? How does Takanos Marish apply over here? Takanos Marish only applies by those Geisel Eitzim because he built it into his house. In order to get it, he would have to take the roof off and demolish his house. Here, where is it?
So saying here,
it's either the walls.
It's in his sukkah, but he's gonna have
Either one.
He built
Either
above
one.
of a
He's not going to
sukkah.
have a sukkah.
He built above of a sukkah. No.
Wait, no. I'm saying if he built it into his sukkah, so it's part of the wall, he's kind of with Shinei Maisa. It's part of a wall now. Takanas Marish only applies there because he did nothing to the beam. The beam is just what it was. It's not nailed into anything. Here, if it's the schach, just take it off the top and get a new one. If it's part of the wall, it's now a wall. It's not. There's a Shinei Maisa. Where's the Takanas Marish here?
Well, because the guy's not going to have a sukkah on Sukkos.
And he's
But
not
either
going to
way, if
admit
it's
it.
a wall,
And
there's
maybe
no
he won't
Takanas
admit it.
Marish. You don't need it. It's his.
Maybe-
He owns it. It's not
Doesn't
Gazul
mean it's
anymore.
his.
He needs to
Why
return
not? But
money.
he still
There's
has
no
to pay
Takanas.
back the Gala.
Yeah, he has to pay it back, but it's not because it's Takanas Marish. His chiyuv of lahashiv to return doesn't apply anymore. He has a Shinei Maisa. He's kind of it. He has no shiva. I don't understand what the case is here.
Who's money for something stolen?
There's
That's
two
very nice, but
chiyuvim.
the
Either
Maisa still
you
has to pay
produce
back
the
his
object.
Zayla.
Yeah, anytime you have to pay back your Xela. The shaila is there a hashiva in here? You have to return the beam itself. You only have to return the beam itself
Right.
if there's no shinoi to it. Here, if there's a shinoi, if it's
Right.
part of the wall, there's a shinoi. You nailed
Who
it
says
together
there
with
was a
something
shinoi?
else.
Who says there
Tell him I-
was a shinoi?
So if there's no shinoi, what did he do? He put it on his schach. If he put it on his schach, he doesn't have to knock anything down. He just takes it off and gives it to him. There's no takanas marish here.
I don't know. I think that you're saying because Takanas Marish is because he changed the beam.
No, only because he didn't change it. And if he were to give it back, he would have to knock down the whole sukkah. Here, if it's on top, if it's the schach, he doesn't have to knock down anything. Just takes it off and gives it back. There's no takanas marish on that. If it's in the wall, then it's nailed together with other beams. That's considered a shinui. He doesn't have to return it anyway. He only has to pay for it.
Right. So I understand what you're saying.
There's no either way. Takanas marish doesn't apply.
Well, let's see the next Gemara because the next one is Masha that it's out to the Sukkah. You know what I mean, let's see weiter. Yeah. Yeah. So Gemara said that's what the Gemara is saying. So it's pshita kamashmal. So Gemara says Hani Mili begoy Shiva. This is only during the 7 days of Sukkos, right? Aval labaso Shiva Hadar be'ene. But after 7 days, it goes. Yeah, you can give back. You can give back the actual beam, right? Because now he doesn't need it anymore. So you see that it's totally something to do with the sukkah, and that's it. But if you attached it to the sukkah with cement or mud, right? Then even after Shiva gives it back, because then it's no different than putting it part of your building. But so you see that there's something to do with sukkahs here, right? He's not gonna admit to having to pay for it until for sukkah's purpose. Fine. Okay, so that's the end of that sugya of the Gezula. Now we go on to the next sugya of Yavesh. Shatana Yavesh passul. So we learned that a dry lulav is passul. Rabbi Yehuda Machshir Yehuda says it's kosher. Amarava Machlokes lulav derabbanan. The Machlokes, Machlokes lulav. The Machlokes is by lulav derabbanan sabri makshin and lulav le'esrog. We make a hekesh. We compare lulav to esrog like we discussed yesterday in the Mishnah. Lulav doesn't say hadar. It says it by esrog. So why do you need it to be hadar? So I take a lulav that's dried out. What's the big deal? So that we're saying is the machlokes. The Rabbanan holds makshin lulav esrog, and then we compare lulav to esrog. Lulav by here, so to lulav needs it. Yehuda savar loy makshin lulav esrog. We don't make a hekesh from lulav to esrog. But for esrog, divrei hakol hadar be'inon. But by esrog, everybody holds that you need hadar, right? So that's a machlokes. Whether dry lulav is all tali, whether we compare lulav to esrog. So Gemara asks, so the lulav like by Rav Yehuda hadar, and Rav Yehuda doesn't require hiddur by lulav. But Tanan Rav Yehuda emer yakdenu milamala, right? You tie it up on top. My time malamashum de by hadar. The reason why you have to tie it up, meaning if you had the branches in the Mishnah, if you have the leaves are falling off, or they're not totally off, so you should tie them on. Why does he need them to be tied on? Is it not because you need Hadar? So Gemara answers, like we said, that the reason for Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda it says you have to have kapos tomorrow. Kapos means that it should be tied. Kapos meaning they should be, if the leaves are not up against the spine of the lulav, then you should go kafa, you should go tie them up. So that doesn't do with Hadar, it's just that the pasuk says kapos tomorrow, have them tied up. So then when ask a different question, he doesn't need Hadar. But Tanan ain't like a lulav ela b'minoi. Right? You cannot tie up a lulav only with lulav, meaning you can't tie it up with anything other than lulav. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, right? Which is why we use everything that with the koshikos and all that stuff that we put the dasim and the rabbis in is made out of lulav, right? Dried lulavs. My timer, lamashun de bayadar. Why does he want you to use dafka lulavs? Because it needs to be hidden, it'll look nicer. So Gemara answers, "Loi the ha'amar Rava afilu b'siv afilu be'ikr dedikla." Rava says you could even use sieve, which is that soft stuff around the base of the palm tree, or even the what do you call it? Ikr dedikla is the
trunk,
the trunk, the bark of the deca, whatever it is. But it's interesting because he's saying it's the date. It's from the date tree. What's the problem?
There's a fryer, the oil thing from the Machlokes is going over the fleishik oil.
Basically, there's two fryers next to each other, and the smoke from the milchik fryer goes right into the fleishik fryer. Is it?
How hot is the smoke?
Well, it's from
Smoke
the
from the
oil.
fryer.
How far away are they from each other?
They're full.
From side to side, or
Side to
Side,
side.
side.
no? That's not a
But
problem.
it goes right into it.
Goes.
Side to side.
But the air's blowing.
I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on back here in camp. All these shilas tonight.
There's oil here and oil
There's
here.
smoke, and
I
the
guess.
fan's blowing it.
It's not
Blowing
hot
in.
enough. No, fine.
Why?
Even though it's blowing into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So we say Rava He said Rava says you could even use. Again, they have to be from a date tree, so they have to be from the same type of tree as the lulav, but it doesn't have to actually be lulav things. My time of the Rabbi Yehuda Hassam. So then, how come he needs it to be? So why does Rabbi Yehuda need it to be with? I'm sorry. Let's make this straight. We think that the reason why Rabbi Yehuda needs it to be tied up with the same type of lulav is because that's Hadar. So we're saying no. Rava says it doesn't have to be Hadar. It could be something that looks different, which is either the sieve or the bark or whatever it is. So that doesn't look the same. So clearly, it's not a Hadar thing. Okay, if that's the case, then why does it have to be from a palm tree? Let it be. Use a string. You like it? Use a shoelace. But my time with Rabbi Yehuda. So why does Rabbi Yehuda there say that it has to be from the same type, meaning from like a palm tree? The kasavar lulav tzarach eged, because he holds that the lulav needs to be tied up, meaning the hadasim and the ravas have to be tied up to the lulav. And if you're going to use a shoelace or a gold string or whatever it is, then it's fifth min. Then it's 5 minim together. So it has to be something from a palm tree, right? It has to be something from a palm tree, because that's not considered an additional min. But it does not have to have the same look, because he does not hold of the hidr by lulav. So then the Gemara asks, yeah.
According to the Gemara, we had that Shlomo Melech grew the golden trees, fruit trees. If one was a dekel, would that be considered minoi?
Again, what?
According to the Gemara, we had that Shlomo Melech planted golden fruit trees in the Beis Hamikdash. If one was a dekel, would that be minoi or not minoi?
Was one a decal, Gershon?
I don't know. They were all different kinds of fruits. It doesn't say what they were.
Find out, then see if you have a question. If you don't, if one is a decal, you have a question. Otherwise,
Well, you're asking other types of trees should be the same thing?
No. If one of them was a deco, the golden trees in the Beis Hamikdash, would that be minoi or not minoi?
What Rav Aaron is basically telling you, Gershon, is if there are
can't
no
ask a
ifs,
theoretical
come back.
question.
Yes, you come back when you have a solid thing.
Oh yeah, they just beat me. One of them was a
if
deco.
it was a decal, then you have a great question. Otherwise, what are we interested in? What?
According to Taisus, it was a deco.
I hear. Okay, I don't know. I hear the question. I hear
You
what
have
you're
both, I'm saying. You have both. You have Rabbi Yehuda says later they use the gold. The Sfardim
Right.
could do. The old Sfardim.
I don't
So that
know.
would be a bigger hinder to use a golden deco.
Yeah.
You get
Don't-
both.
See, Yaakov, those Sfardim drink coffee, so we don't care.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so Gemara says by Esrog we buy Rabbi Yehuda Hadar. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold that you need Hadar by Esrog? Right. Right now, this is different because we said that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't compare lulav to Esrog, but the assumption was that Rabbi Yehuda holds of Hadar by Esrog. So now the Gemara is even asking against the whole source. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold that you need Hadar by Esrog? Vatanya arba mina shebelulav. There's four minim with the lulav. Kashem she'ein peichsin behen. The same way you don't take away any of the four minim. Say, well, you don't add on to them. Let's say you don't have an esrog. Yes, a lo yavi like parish. Don't bring a parish with some sort of fruit. The lo rimain, the lo davar acher. You don't use. There's no substitute fruits. There you go, Gershon. I don't know if that's what you were referring to, but there's no substitute.
Do you see the
fruits.
Rashi on Parish? We're back to Corona.
What?
Rashi on Parish.
Koronia, very good. Taka. Right, Rashi says Koronia, very good.
Cats that do it.
I said it's okay then.
So it's okay.
Yeah. So kamushin ksherin, if they're withered, they're like wrinkled up, then they're kosher. Yeveshin psulin, if they're dried out, they're passul. Rabbi Yehuda Omer af yeveshin. Rabbi Yehuda says even dried out is okay. Yeah. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda Maisa b'bnei krachin. There was a story of people from the city. Shayomarishin esel vein levnei b'nein, and they would give a yerusha of their lulavim to their children, to their children's children. Now, clearly, right, that means it's going to be dried out. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda holds it's kosher. Yeah. Samarlem, Misham Raya, and they answer back. It's from there is a Raya. Ain't Shasat Chak Raya. That was a Shasat Chak, where obviously there was a shortage. Right? But regularly we wouldn't allow it. Yeah.
I heard
That's
Rabbi
what they
Rocket.
say. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
Rameisha?
Oh, you heard him, Rabbi? Heard the
No, it's the famous thing that Ramesha, Ramesha, they said that in Ramesha's town, he used the same lulav for I don't even know how many years.
They said
Is that what
3
he was
years.
saying?
Yeah, I heard Rabbi Rocket said 3 years they used it.
3 years?
They only had one. They had one in the whole town. And he had it 3
And they
years.
just hung it up. Yeah, I'm saying later on, we're going to learn what the shear of dryness is. Seems like all these lulavim are going to be kosher, right? They're all going to be kosher. Because it just has to crumble. Whoever saw a lulav that crumbles.
So why haven't you
Either
told
way.
me to come back to you, keep it for 3 years, and then I'll come back and bother you?
Natalia, I figure you're going to come back and bother me about something anyway. So you might as well get a new lulav. Right? Anyway, so Katani mi. So what's the kasha? Finally, Katani mi is Rabbi Yehuda Omer af yeveshin ksherin. Even the yeveshin are kosher. My lava esrog isn't he talking about the esrog that if it's dried out esrog, then it would be fine. So we say loya lulav. No, he was going on the lulav. Yeah, fine. So I mean we have to be mavar. This is a sugya. So should you, if you don't have, let's say you're missing one in the dal and minim, should you take the other three, or should you not take them at all? Right.
Does that mean if you wake up as Sukkos, first day Sukkos, and when you find that something is passul?
Correct. That would
Meaning
be a
like you look in your
practical example.
Aravos or passul.
Right.
Or
Right,
you
so
forgot to buy one.
he was being down the kafschus. David is down everybody the kafschus.
Usually they come in a package, maybe. So exactly. So you wake up Sukkos morning, and you realize one of them is passul.
Right. So should you still take, and you have nobody to borrow from because everybody's very makbid on sheula and they don't want to do matana manas lahachzer and all that type of stuff. So should you not? It's okay. Well, let's see how the sugi later because it comes up again. Okay. So Amar Mar, that 5 lines out. Kashem shein peichsin man kachen masibin alei. The same way you don't take less. Right? You're not allowed to take less than 4 minim. So too, you're not moist with pshita. So Gemara says it's pashat. Right? How can you add on an extra min? So Gemara answers, "Ma'od the same ahoyel v'amar Rabbi Yehuda lulav tzarich eged." You would think since Rabbi Yehuda holds that the lulav needs to be tied up, and if you bring another min, so So then this one is by itself, and this one's by itself. Kamash Malon, that it's not, and it's considered like one. Yeah. Meaning you might think that lulav needs an eged, but if you bring another one, so then and you don't tie it together, like let's say you decide to hold an orange together with your lulav and esrog. Okay, that's not tied on. It's not tied on, so it's its own thing, right? So kamash malon, no, it's still considered. If you're holding it in your hands together, then it's considered like one thing. Yeah, fine. So Amar Mar loy motza esrog lo yavi loy riman v'loy parav shloy davar achar. You can't find the esrog, so you don't bring another type of fruit. Says pshita, it's pasha. Well, what is that? What is that other type of fruit going to do? All right, so Mao the same way. Because you have an issue. Let's say 1 year, you can imagine this becoming a big issue in the town and the Rabbanim's meetings. Let's say it's in the middle of Corona, you can't get an esrog. Okay, so should we tell the island to take an orange like this? It's at least we know that there's such a concept of taking a fruit together with the lulav and esrog and hadasim. Not your esrog, you lulav and hadasim, you won't forget. So others might say, no, but then the next year they're going to just take an orange, forget about it, right? So those are the two tzadim. So the Gemara says you would have thought you should bring epis of fruit. Because sometimes it's going to come a churva. Yes, granted, you're going to make sure it doesn't get forgotten, but then people are going to end up asil misrach. They're going to end up saying, "Okay, we're going to use an orange this year. I can't, the Esrog are too expensive." Right?
Why is there not a problem about Tigra?
What's about? Why is it about Tigra?
Taking 3 minim.
What?
Taking 3 minim. The Torah says 4.
You're not. What do you mean? What's about Tigra?
Taking 3 minim.
Yeah, but who says you should take the 3 minim? Maybe you shouldn't take it at all. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. Does this mean, so let's say they don't have an esrog. Should you take all 3 or should you just not take any?
This sounds like take 3.
From here, it sounds like you would take 3. Yes.
I don't know what the Havamina is. Why is it not about Tigra?
That's from the other side that you shouldn't forget the mitzvah of lulav. That's the tzad to say, don't forget the mitzvah. Don't worry about Tigra. It's better not to forget that we have such a mitzvah.
No, they're only worried about forgetting esrog, not forgetting dalad minim. If the Gemara says, I was asking to you, if the Gemara was said that we should take it because you might forget the whole mitzvah b'chlal, then fine. The Gemara says here,
it's poshut. It's not about Tigra if that's all you have. It's not about Tigra.
So what are you saying? You should take none of them instead?
what you're talking about?
Well, that's part of
So I'm
the
saying if
nothing.
you're missing one, you're saying now don't take any.
That's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is
Well,
to take
Gershon
4.
is saying that
Takes
it
3
sounds
is
like
about
from this
Tigra.
Gemara. Gershon is saying from this Gemara, it's mashma. You should take the other 3 without the esrog.
No, Gershon's saying no, Rabbi.
Right, but okay, but that's a big shiloh. So what was Hashem when we finish the sugi? We'll
If
discuss.
someone loses the shell reish, are you allowed to just put on a shell yad?
What does one thing
Very
have to
good.
do with the other? I have nothing to do with it.
That's not a arba minim. It's not who said one has to do
Well,
with the
because
other.
so what
I'm asking the
Mike is
Rebbe.
asking. Mike is asking because there it's a little different because the shalyan and shalosh are 2 different mitzvahs. Well, it's a shiloh, but that's the
We're the
there's
bodyguards. We're the bodyguards, by the way.
There's enough.
Well, the
There's enough
Sfarda make one bracha.
The man
Right.
make what over.
We don't
That's all
talk
part
about
of
it,
the
buddy.
Torah.
Talking about brachas. Not talking about brachas.
I mean, I'm talking about a half a mitzvah.
Right. So the question is
That's what I'm
Shel
saying.
there's enough studim that Shel Yad and Shel Reish are 2 different mitzvahs that you should put on half. Right?
Gershon, I don't
This is
want to
Stammerfield.
be. I don't want to be brutal to you, Gershon, but somebody's in Treblinka and they find a rovis. You're saying they shouldn't pick it up; they should throw it back in the river. I mean, use your little seichel, please.
He's tiny
Someone's
fakir.
what?
He's tiny fakir. He's saying, I think Gershon is saying you should take it.
No,
Take
he's
one.
saying you shouldn't. It's Baltigra. So a yid in
That
Treblinka,
Maltigra, he's
a yid in
asking.
Treblinka who found a package of Adasim, according to Gershon, he should throw it in the garbage can and not pick it up. Okay, that's please.
What? I wish I understood that.
That's what you said. He'll be over Baltigra if he picks it up.
Pick what up?
The
Just
Monsier.
Hadassim. Just Hadassim.
If he picks it up with Shem Mitzvah, maybe, yeah, he can pick it up.
That's what I'm saying. So that's your case.
Yeah, if you try to do a mitzvah that's not a mitzvah, that's an issue.
Very good. Very good, Gershon. Very good.
No, so then Gershon, what was your kasha then? If you only have 3 of the minim, so you take them.
You don't
Why
take
would you-
them. That's the Gemara's mashma that you take them as a mitzvah.
Right, so then it's not Baltigra because you don't have a choice.
I don't understand. I'm asking, why is it not Baltigra? The Torah said 4.
Why?
This
So
is
then he's
3.
saying the same thing. So then that's what Baron is asking. So if you just pick up Hadassim in a concentration camp, you're going to say it's also Baltigra.
Oh, trip! I didn't hear what he said. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, no. That's a kasha from a Maisa, but that's his kasha.
Okay, I don't think anyone who picked it up thought they were doing the mitzvah. They did the best they could to be a zecher.
Right, so that's what you do with the 3 too.
As a zecher. That's what he's saying. The Gemara is saying it's a zecher. The whole thing's a zecher. Fine. Then what's the shaila here? There's no shailas in halacha. You're doing a zecher. What shaila do you have? Maybe it should be this. Maybe, who cares? It's a zecher.
Yeah. All right.
Elamite is a mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, it's Baltigra.
No, okay. Yeah, I hear.
Well, let's one way or the other. It can't.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Okay, so let's see. Isn't that this week's parsha? Baltaz Baltigra? That's why you're on to this? Okay. All right. Toshima. Yeah. So Esrog HaYoshan, an old Esrog is passul, but Rav Yehuda Masher, Rav Yehuda says it's kosher. So then clearly he doesn't hold of Hadar. So Tiyufta the Rava, it's a kasha on Rava, it's Tiyufta, right? So meaning, so maybe Taka doesn't hold. But like by Hadar, and he doesn't require Hadar. But we learned in the Mishnah, Hayora Kakarti, if it's green like a vegetable, right? Not a vegetable, a grass, whatever, it's like a green thing. A leek. Oh, right, a karti. Right, it's almost leak time. Taka Rishchai the shell. You got to start getting into leaks. No, yeah. So, Hayora Kakarti. Reb Meir Masher. Reb Yehuda Paisel. Reb Meir says kosher. Reb Yehuda says passul. Lamashum debay Hadar. Isn't it because he needs Hadar, and that's why he says a green is passul? So we say loy mashum delay gomer peira. The reason is because it's not, the pre is not finished, right? So now there's an important thing here to know about what is the story from this. It's mashma that a green esrog is a problem. Now we see people with green esrogim all the time, right? So what's the deal with that? So the answer is the way we paskin. It's really based on Tosfos that if it's you just picked it a little early, but theoretically it will eventually grow, get to yellow, then it's no problem. When we're saying that a green esrog is passul, that's only if it will never turn yellow. But if it will turn yellow, then even though it's green right now, it's still kosher.
And I assume that the one I'm buying is going to turn yellow eventually?
You got to trust the salesman who says, yeah. Yeah, you got to trust the salesman who says, yeah. Then you have all those shticks by those guys that say, put it in a bag with the apples and it'll turn it yellow, yada, yada.
Yeah, if it turns it.
But that's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it'll turn, then as long as they assure you that it will turn yellow, then you're fine. But I guess there is some form of risk. If you get a very green esrog and it may not, what do you call it? Yeah, then you have a problem. So fine. So Toshima, sheer esrog cotton, what's the minimum amount of esrog? Is like a walnut. Like an egg. Why do they care about the size of it? Isn't it that it has to be beautiful? So we say loy mishum the loy gomer peira. Same thing. No, the reason why it's not beautiful. It's not fully developed. It's not fully developed. It's not considered kosher. Fine. Toshima ubagadol kadesh yachish shnayim biyadei achas. What's the large size of an esrog? In order to hold on to 2 esrogim in one hand. That's as large as it could get. Even one esrog with 2 hands, right? Like that picture of Chaim that goes around every year, right? So my time, what's wrong with having such a large esrog? Isn't it because of Hadar? Right? So you see that Rabbi Yehuda does require Hadar. So my answer is like, even Dharma Rabba lulav even vested with small, since Rabba said that you have to carry the lulav in your right hand and the esrog in your left hand. Sometimes you mix it up. then you have to start transferring hands, right? And it's going to come, you're going to come to end up dropping, and it's going to become passul. Yeah. So then therefore, that's why he's not meaning it's not a concern for Hadar. He's afraid if your esrog is too big, which source sounds like some sort of gezerah, like a far-fetched gezerah.
Yeah, because you might come to let it drop.
Correct. We're saying right. Yeah, it sounds like.
When do we?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's interesting gezerah. If you're gonna take it in the wrong hand, then it might slip out of your hand and then become passul. Like that's why you need to make sure your esrog is not so big. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting gezerah.
Well,
So
the oil is very machmer on this gezerah. For Shamas, no one holds the lulav and esrog correctly.
What do you mean?
All hold it in one hand, just to show
right, which is incorrect. Which is incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it is. But the Gemara says, "El Rabbi Yehuda haksiv Hadar." How can you say Rabbi Yehuda doesn't require Hadar? The pasuk says Hadar. How can you not say like the pasuk? So when it says Ahu Hadar, well, the question is how you pronounce this now. Ahu Hadar b'lanai mishana l'shana means that it stays on the tree from mishana l'shana, in which case you should say Hadar, meaning an esrog normally fruit from year to year will fall off. An esrog will stay on the tree unless you cut it off. So all these meaning is that it's a pre-etz. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It's because again the Torah doesn't say what type of fruit it is. It just says pre-etz hadar. So we're saying that it's the type of pre that stays on the tree from year to year. Right? Fine. Okay. It says that esrog, a lulav and esrog from Avoda Zara or from a city that's going to be destroyed because of Avoda Zara. So Gemara says v'shel sheira passul is Avoda Zara lulav and esrog passul. V'amar Rava lulav shel Avoda Zara lo yitov im natach kosher. Right, a lulav of Avoda Zara, don't take it, and if you did take it, then it's kosher. Yeah. So you see that Avoda Zara is kosher. So we say no. Hachaba sheira de Moshe skin. We're talking about the sheira trees of Moshe, meaning, which was this week's parsha, right? That when they went into eretz yisroel, they had to destroy any Avoda Zara from eretz yisroel. Right? So therefore, we're talking about that one and ksusei mechta shiura. Right? This is a rule in Shas that anytime you need something that has to have a measurement, if that measurement is going to be destroyed, if that measurement is not allowed to be used, then we look at it as if it doesn't exist, meaning not allowed to be used. If that measurement has to be destroyed, then we look at it as if it doesn't exist. So since this esrog, that when Moshe Rabbeinu, when they came into eretz yisroel, which obviously Moshe didn't go into eretz yisroel, but Moshe was told that when they go to eretz yisroel, destroy every Avoda Zara. So therefore, we look at this esrog, even though right now it exists, but since it's going to be destroyed, therefore it doesn't exist even now. So that's what we're referring to. But really, an esrog of Avoda Zara, you shouldn't take it, but the evidence would be okay. So take a nami. We can medayik in this too. The tani dumi the irni dachas. It's similar to a irni dachas, which is also going to be destroyed. So the ashera, as a tomat ashera, has to be destroyed, and it's similar to irni dachas. Shmamina. So that's the way it is. And stam, a regular lulav and esrog from Avoda Zara does not. If you can't use it, but if you did use it, then it is kosher. All right. Okay. A good tvach and a good yah. Welcome back to my nephew there, Moshe Dov Steinberg, otherwise known as Punja. I see he's back from camp. So welcome back. Yeah. All right. Fine.
Thank you. Good tvach.
A good tvach, a good yah. I was wondering about that, Rafe. You're not in Chicago, so you can get on.
Yeah, well, I'm here. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. It's good to see you on a Motzei Shabbos.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
I'll see you in the morning, Baruch Hashem.
All right. Good night.
If I have a shiloh, can I call you for a quick second when you hang up?
A quick second. You want to see what my phone looks like now?
So before you get off, then, on Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, "Ichibrei betina." if the wood that he stole was fixed in with cement. I have on the
Right.
side of my Gemara that it's mashma from here, not like the Chazanish. You can for sure do it. It was holding up his sukkah, and the sukkah was holding up his schach. So it's at the very least a mamid de mamid, if it's not a mamid at all. If it's not straight up mamid, this thing.
The Maimid, who says it's not makabel tumah?
The what? It's chibrei to karka. What do you mean? He was mechaber the whole thing to the karka. Yeah.
It's mechuber the karka.
And just put down the carpet.
I hear.
Yeah. So,
Havelei
Okay,
kashar
here.
binyan kavua, Rashi says.
yeah.
It's okay. I hear. I can't disagree. I hear the right.
Yeah. All right. Ashikayach. I get
All right,
I get
Naftali,
your-
if I don't call
Yes.
you, if I don't call you in the next 10 minutes,